Well, I hate it when it doesn't work right on time. You know what I'm saying?
What's going on?
Well, the old computer has decided not to work, but that's okay. We'll move on and live for another day. Good evening, everyone. Welcome in. It is officially here a Wednesday evening here on this Wednesday evening. Glad to have you all dialed in here to Let's Talk OconeeSC.com. Let's Talk Oconee. Local talk, local people. And believe me, today I have done some talking. We've got a very special guest coming up, I should mention. I had the opportunity today to sit down with our District 4 County Council member, Mr. Julian Davis. Oh, Julian! Julian, by the way, next Sunday, or this coming Sunday, we're going to have a special Let's Talk Oconee edition, 1 hour and 30 minutes. That we'll be sitting down and talking with Julian, and we've asked him some questions, and Julian's going to talk anything about the budget to Sewer South to the bonds and a couple little odds and ends in between. So we hope that you'll join us. We're going to air that at 7 o'clock coming up Sunday.
I have a question for him.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The hat and the face mask. Where did that come from?
You can't really
It was a
see
gift.
Huh?
It was a gift from Paris.
Well, I tell you what, if you'll hang on and y'all talk amongst yourselves, I'll show it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the microphone's in the way. That's the problem.
You
So-
can't see it?
No, the microphone looks like a little smoky in your mouth.
Oh, Lord, Randy.
Move the microphone to it.
go.
There, that's better.
Perfect. Now, should I come back over and do the show?
Yeah,
Yes.
just leave it just like that.
Good work. hey, make sure, but we got to make sure you can hear me. I had a question. Why does Julian get a road named after him?
Because he's the man.
What road's that? One way?
No, he has a road, South Cove Road, named Julian Davis. But it's not named after him.
my doctor.
I name roads after him. One way, do not end.
My doctor talked to me this week, and he
Danger
said,
ahead.
my doctor said I shouldn't touch dirty rats. I need to protect my hand.
Well, guess who we should bring onto the broadcast while she's been in the green room anxiously awaiting? Good evening, Kathy.
It's our
Hello.
guest star. Here's our guest star.
That's the live on location. Kathy, it's great to have you along this evening with us.
How you doing?
I'm doing just wonderful this evening. We have a great show lined up for you. Of course, we've started doing this, and a lot of folks have enjoyed it. It's the Oconee County Council recap. And I thought about we probably need to start doing the Planning Commission, but that'd be a short show.
Shit show or short show?
Short show and shit show.
What about the Roads Commission? I want to see one of that.
Well, there's no show there.
Oh, they don't have meetings?
Yeah, they don't have meetings.
But that's what everybody's complained about, the roads.
I know. They complained about the roads, and there's no meetings.
Well, that's
Don't talk to me about that. I
Hey,
don't.
wait a minute. That's not controlled by the OCC, though. There's somebody else that's chairman, right?
And your point is?
Who's the chairman of the Roads
Look, hey,
Commission?
look.
And your
they'll
point is?
have.
Oh, it's Glenn Hart.
They'll just have one. They'll have one meeting if you'll go away and hush.
I would do that. I would do
Just
that.
go away and leave me alone. We'll have one meeting but we won't allow anybody in there.
Glenn,
Well-
if you have a show, I'll go away and I won't talk anymore. I'll just smile.
At some point, we're going to bring up some things that are going on behind the scenes. There's some things that are happening right now that are behind the scenes that are absolutely, it kind of has pissed me off, if you want to know the truth. And again, we're going to tell you a little bit about those as we get more definitive information. But there's a potential for a meeting with one of the council members coming up, I believe, next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, between 2 o'clock and something. You know, when people are actually working, and then again, it's being limited to select people.
Pay to play, baby.
Yeah,
Pay to play.
but yet that council member wouldn't come to a town hall meeting to face his
He didn't
constituents.
stand to get anything out of that. He's
Nope.
getting something out of this. I guarantee it.
Well,
Pay to play. That's how it works here.
Well, wait a minute. We gonna get more intel on this? Or
we
just-
will, but not now.
Okay, all right. But you know that just drives people crazy.
Well, I know, but we want to see where this actually lands. I mean, I think we make a good point. I'd love to get on here and tell you how I really feel about it and what's happening, but I think there's some things that's got to come into play first before we go any further. And we got to see where everything where it falls in place. But it is something that has kind of pissed me off.
Okay.
That the gentleman wouldn't show up to a town hall meeting, but yet was going to open up his arms to speak to a select few people. Now, don't get me wrong; these select few people have every right, but he wouldn't face his district, and that was District 3. I mean, he wouldn't talk to his constituents, but yet he'll talk to a closed setting and then potentially have to bring the county administrator with him.
So
Who are the
people
select few people?
they get a special access.
Well, the select
Pay
few,
to play.
the select
Yeah,
few
tell
people
me
are
about
the
it.
executive committee and the district, the presidents of District 3. But yet wouldn't attend to a town hall meeting, but a select few people are being invited to a
The
meeting
executive committee meaning like
of the Republican Party.
So screw the Democrats.
Oh
Well,
yeah, definitely.
In
Yeah,
the
definitely.
in
We're
the
gonna screw.
district.
Yeah, we're gonna screw the
Forget
Democrats.
the independents. Forget the libertarians that may live in that district. Just forget everybody else.
Or uniparty people like me.
Wait, they just need to go away.
I mean,
Well, they pay
again,
taxes though, right?
again, it's. I want to get more and see where this winds up. But there's a whole lot of things that's been discussed this afternoon that I'm literally very mad about, and there's some things that does not make sense. And there's some other things too, but I want to get some more information first before we go any further with that. I think that's the right thing to do. Rainey, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that much about it other than it seems to me like that this guy's all for pay to play, just like every other Democrat that is in Congress. So,
What a bunch of horse shit. You know what? We need to
Yeah.
mute this so we can hear the good stuff. You know, if you can't talk about it on the air, but then we know what's going on.
so we'll talk about it after the show.
We'll get y'all up to speed. And then again, we may have a little brief something tomorrow if we find out more.
Good.
But, I'm all for open, honest. I think that people want to talk to
I
their
wanna be-
representatives. And again, you only having a select few, it makes things go,
I want to be open and honest right now before we get started with the recap.
Sure.
I got my tax bill day before yesterday, come Monday, I reckon. Everybody's got them now, right? Should have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well-
just paid it.
Okay, well, I mean, I ain't rushing up there to pay it right yet. I'll wait till find out what day that McMahon went to pay his, and then that's the day I'm going to go so that day lives in infamy.
So you can prove you're paying your taxes.
Right, and I'll make a video and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I got my tax bill for 2 acres of land that I purchased in Mountain Rest, and it's $687 for the year.
How $690?
$687, yeah.
That's only $100 cheaper than his 105 acres on the lake.
Right. So what I want to say about that is these dishonest people that want to talk about how taxes are going up, their taxes haven't gone up in the last 15 years other than regular assessments on property that was given to them. And they're paying these little bitty amounts of money, but everybody that's moving here is going to pay point of sale tax for their property, which makes it much higher. So this guy is 15 years behind me in the tax bracket because he's had it for that long or even longer. So the people that were born here and get given land, they're paying 1986, 1985, 1970 taxes where we're paying 2023 taxes.
Yeah, but okay. So help me
So
understand.
the
that. I
people
thought-
that are moving here, the lake people that have second homes paying 6% instead of 4%, actually are the ones that are making the county run. Not Jim blowjob guy down there that's got his granny's property he's had for 100 years in the family. That guy ain't paying no taxes.
Well, what I want to know is what is to prevent some of these folks who have lake property and just moved here from doing the exact same thing and petitioning the court and saying, hey, I want to farm my lake land. I don't want to pay this luxury lake tax.
Well, you've got to
I
have
don't wanna
5
pay-
acres.
Well, I mean, maybe they want to change that too. What is to keep them from all getting together because they've got lake land and they've got lake money that everybody else doesn't have? So, what is to keep them from all getting together and getting some high dollar lawyer and petitioning the court and saying,
I
we
know.
want to
I
be
like that.
farmers and we want to stack our, so we've got a half an acre, but we're going to do this hydroponic farming, and we
Well,
want to be farmers and we want to pay a farm rate rather than paying
Well,
$10,000 for our half an acre on the lake. We want the $700 or $300 tax because we're 70 years old. Now, what if that happens? Then, Oconee, what are you going to do? What are
well,
you going to do if everybody starts doing that? Then what?
Well, let me ask a question, because I was getting confused on what Randy was saying. Okay, so you were talking about the second home taxes. Okay, so, all right. So like if you get somebody like, if I
Right.
have this house and this is a second home house, then I'd be paying about 12 bills.
you're paying 6%
right. Well,
on
so if you take
your non-legal residents in South Carolina.
So-
it's 4% for legal.
so what you showed the other day for him living on
Well, him,
4%. Now listen, he's got 12 acres over there. Well, I've got 12 acres that is on my homestead. His was $700 and some dollars. Mine's $1,100. And that's a $400 difference because of when I purchased my property.
Okay, so this is the part that I don't understand. If you forget the second home stuff, I thought that basically over time, like I've been here like 18, 19 years, I thought over time, then they reassess everybody.
They do.
And if they reassess everybody
But
you're living there, everybody's equal, except for the ag, right?
No.
That's not true?
But they can reassess in South Carolina every 5 years, and it can only go up 15% on those assessments.
Oh.
But point of sale reassessments is you pay taxes on what you paid for the property. So in 1971, when he purchased his, well,
It might have been
15
$1,000 an acre back in
Right.
1971, but nobody could afford it around here.
So he's decades behind me in the tax gap.
Because of when he got the property.
Right. So if all things created,
But it hasn't,
but all things created equal, if 12 acres was 12 acres, and we were both paying the same amount of money for that, the county would be much better off.
I agree. But if all things being equal, that means you got an ag res too, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. But he's got 12 acres of lake property.
Which
probably
should
is
be valued much higher.
Probably about 10, 11 grand.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Sounds
saying.
to me like we're carrying the load.
So the point being is, as we move into watching these council meetings, we hear these disingenuous people talking about who's paying the taxes and who's getting screwed. Well, I tell you what, it's not the local guy who's lived here all his life that's getting screwed when it comes to paying taxes in the county.
It's people like me.
Well, I told y'all how much mine went up. I paid
Well-
$1,200 last year, and now I'm going to be paying $1,596 this year with no reason.
Well, that's going up.
And I do intend to file an appeal. I'm going to, you can file appeals. I'm going to file an appeal. I'd like to find out how the county and the city taxes didn't change. It was just the county side. And I'd just like to know how they justified that. That's a steep increase.
Well, and it
You
might
know,
just be
$50, $75, maybe I could get along with that. But a $200-something increase from year over year, and this is not we're not renegotiating it either. This is not a reassessment year.
But you get trash pickup.
But no, I pay for that already in the city. I pay that monthly. I pay that monthly
Jeff.
for my power, water, sewer, and trash pickup. That
Jeff.
has nothing to do with taxes.
What I heard was
Well-
that they decided to slip in an extra HOA fee.
That's what it was.
underneath there for
Yeah.
the barking dogs.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's
Well-
Ferd. He's taking care of it.
And we haven't had this discussion, but this will make you sick. Ours didn't go up a dime, and we live in city limits, and ours didn't go up a dime. So,
Oh, thanks, Kathy. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm just
I know,
telling you.
but I'm just trying to figure out.
I'm just telling you, get that to make sense.
Well, that's what, and that's
and
what
here
I'm going to
again,
do.
back to the thing you were talking about, people who've grown up here all their lives. My husband has grown up here all of his life and less than half an acre. And we've lived here for nearly 17 years. And someone with a bunch of lakefront property pays significantly less in tax than we do. Just like Jeff's grown up here all of his life. And I don't know how much land he has, but is paying significantly more than someone with lakefront acres and acres of lakefront property. So
Well,
get that to math.
I
Get
have
that to
I have a half an acre, and I think the house was assessed at $280,000, and I have a half an acre. Matter of
Yep.
fact, when we lived on the lake, we had 2.75 tenths of an acre, and we were paying it was almost $1,600 for 2 tenths for 2 acre, 2.75 tenths of an acre. And again, though, that property had been in the family for years.
Yep.
So there kind of is a discrepancy here. Anyway, we need to move on for what we're here for. We're here for the recap of last night's county council meeting. And again, this coming Sunday evening at 7 o'clock, we have a special edition of Let's Talk Oconee. I had the opportunity today to sit down with Julian Davis. It's about an hour and 30-minute interview. And I think what you're going to hear is some honest answers coming from one of our representatives. And he talks about everything from the budget and the creation to where we're at. Also, I asked him specifically to tell me why this bond could be a good thing for the bond that they're wanting to do. We talk about Sewer South. And again, he's going to say in his own words the same thing that we knew, that Exit 4 was supposed to have been the primary place that the first of all to run it to, because the plan had originally intended for it to develop Exit 4 so that Exit 4, and here comes the big word, return on investment, so that they could create a return on the investment by moving it to 4, then potentially take it down to go to Exit 1 and 2. So the original plan was Exit 4, work to get a return on the investment, like you've been saying, and then move it down to see if there's a need. So Jillian's going to talk to it coming up Sunday in his own words, and you're going to hear exactly what you've been saying too about the return on the investment.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, real quickly.
Okay. So my whole thing is, if you're going to do something and you're going to spend tax dollars, you do two things. You've got to justify why you're going to do it, and you've got to articulate very clearly to people why you're doing it. Both of those things have not been done.
Julian does in the interview.
Well,
and that's what I'm saying. Julian
in an
does,
interview, but they didn't do it at council.
Well, no, the three leaders didn't.
Right.
Okay, the three that's running the county right now didn't, but Julian does, and he articulates because of Blue Ridge's investment, Blue Ridge Electric's investment in economic development, that was one of the returns on the investment, that they had the property there with the return. They were going to give something back to the county where it would not have affected county taxpayers. It would have paid for a good portion back a couple of years ago of Exit 4, so that we wouldn't be sitting here having to think about getting a $25 or $25 million bond. But you'll get to hear that coming up at 7 o'clock on Let's Talk Oconee. Real quickly, Roger, I'm going to answer your question before we get started. Yes, in the interview, there is a couple of comments. He talks about council's behavior. He does talk about, in this council meeting, you're going to see the decorum was much better in this council meeting than it was in the previous 9 months to a year.
Jeff, thank you for standing up and saying something at that town hall meeting. I don't believe if you hadn't have embarrassed them there, that their behavior would have continued.
Well, Rainey, it is the purpose of it is, I guess I take things a little sacred. When you walk into a government office, no matter what, there's a time and place for you to become, I guess, upset or say things that you need to say. But generally for the last year and a half that the select few people have been coming to county council, it's been a shit show. They come in, they start laughing at people that are up there having a conversation with their elected representatives, and I guess I'm old school because that's kind of sacred. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take your grievances that you have with your government. It's called you petition your government. You talk to your elected representatives. And for some reason, this is the group that preaches that, but they don't live by it. And I felt that of all the questions that was being answered, everything was centered around the budget, Sewer South. I kind of wanted to take the conversation in a different light. And that came up with, I said, we need to talk about the decorum. And I've preached this on this show.
Yeah.
I have talked about this show after show, it seems like, that there's a decorum issue when you have the certain rows that are sitting there laughing and making fun. And I guess it was when Miss Lynn Morey had her editorial in the Journal that made me think that, look, I'm not the only one that sees this. Someone else that attended council chambers saw the same thing that I've seen. And you go back and you watch the YouTube channel and you see the exact same thing. It's everybody in that lower right corner. They're constantly either laughing and then also too saying some of the obscene words in council chambers to certain people. You may not agree with them, but that doesn't give you the right to attack or alienate. And on top of that, with Roger getting the cease and desist order written on crayons, that right there was really the icing over the cake.
Okay,
that's what took me over the edge.
Can you imagine too when they have when they do the oh gosh, I'm blanking out here, but when they have the things at the beginning and they honor people who have passed away and that type of thing. Can you imagine if you were there for something like that for a loved one and you stay for the council meeting and you've lost someone and you're sitting there being subjected to that? I mean,
well, not only that, but when they do
you remember when
when
Lamar Bells passed away?
Yeah, I do.
And they had the family. They sat there. That family was there, I believe, the entire council meeting, and they were acting like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it cheapens. I don't know. It's because he served the community.
Oh Lord,
the whole time
for
I've lived
50
here.
years,
Yes,
or
the
more.
entire time that I've lived here.
He served
to have his
Walhalla. He's
wife
been on council. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, he was one of the first county councilmen elected in 1976 under the new home rule.
Yeah, and Miss Bells was an administrator at the high school. I mean, everybody knows that family,
Right.
and to have them acting like that with them there, I mean, it was just
Yeah, but
tasteless, absolutely tasteless.
So let Kathy, I agree, but let me say one thing because I think we're kind of dancing around this.
We need to go ahead and hurry it up, please.
Let me just say one thing. This is nothing about decorum. These guys are degrading people, and they're doing everything they can just to mock the proceeding, and just be like seventh graders in an assembly. And there's no class there. There's no courtesy. It can be decorum, but it's worse than that. They just run roughshod over everybody and to do everything they can to degrade people, just like they did Roger, making fun of his gait. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, and I think it needs to be called out like that.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I felt that was the appropriate forum to call it out and say, hey, look, here it is. And I appreciate Riley Morningstar. He recognized that was an important question enough to put it on the front page of the Journal, and I agree with him.
And then he went and broke the pea picker.
You have to tell that story when we get a little bit more time. Listen, we're behind right now at 6:23 Wednesday evening, so let's go ahead and get into Tuesday night, last night, county council session. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. It's going to get fun here in just a moment.
Time is 6:10 p.m. Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. I call to order this regular Oconee County Council meeting. Let's begin with a moment of silence.
In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and go fast forward a little bit.
Whereas South Carolinians with disabilities have the same aspirations to competitively work and contribute to their community as everyone else. Whereas business and community leaders have called for a diverse and capable workforce to further advance the economy of the Palmetto.
And of course, they had 3 proclamations last night. One of the proclamations was declaring October as a Disability Employment Awareness Month. Proclamation number 2 was commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Oconee County Public Library. And this one was kind of near and dear to my heart because I've known this family and they are a wonderful family in the community. A proclamation honoring Reverend Ted Edgar and, of course, his wife was there. They're the longest serving pastor of a single church in Oconee with over 60 plus years. And Mr. Edgar, Pastor Edgar, is a wonderful individual.
Well, that was a good one. The library was a good proclamation, and the disabilities one was great. But we didn't hear the 4th one that didn't make it through, I guess. The
Freedom
scrub.
Fighter?
No, not the Freedom Fighter, but October is
Yeah.
assault victims. What do they call it? CDV Awareness
Discuss
Month,
any item
Domestic
brought up.
Violence Month. They
It's
didn't talk
also-
about that at all.
It's also
No.
hate crime.
All right. Let's see
Hate
where we're
crime
at now.
month.
Go ahead, Kathy.
It's hate crime awareness month as well.
Kathy, you have something to add?
It's hate crime
Comment?
awareness month as well.
At the 4-minute
You said
mark,
equine awareness?
Hate crime.
Oh,
Hate crime. Hate crime.
Hate
hold on,
crime. Oh,
yellow,
I hear you
1
now.
minute remaining
Okay.
sign,
Here we go.
and as time expires,
This
I'll
is
hit
a
the
public comment
red
now.
stop sign. As a reminder, council will not interact at that time, but each council member may answer or discuss any item brought up during the council member comment session.
Next, we have Mr. John Maury.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for having me here again, 10 minutes a month. Before I get to my chart that I passed to you this evening, I'd like to hit a couple of high points on the ordinances I've been talking to you about. And the first thing I want you to know is I'm not mad at you this evening. I'm not trying to get you disgusted at me, but I am trying to help, hopefully, you and the citizens of the county and understanding where we are with the ordinances for developments and where we need to go. One other thing you should probably realize is that you as a council, your planning commission and your administration does not know what is missing and what is wrong with your development ordinances. You're going to need some serious help. And so you shouldn't depend on anywhere intergovernmental here the way you've set up right now, because you just don't have the expertise. Okay, let's go to the chart. I gave you an organization chart that I came up with. It's not, I'm sure it's got things missing, but what it is a lot of organizations are called planning and zoning, engineering and planning. I titled this one Development Services. And what you can see is the biggest thing you're missing right now, starting off with a Development Services Director. And underneath that are all the agencies within the staff that it takes to approve a subdivision. Keeping in mind that only you and even the Planning Commission can only approve what is written. You can't go ask for more or you're going to get yourself in a bind. So it's what's written is what you can approve. And if that's what's submitted and all the boxes are checked, you, I think, legally have an obligation to approve whatever that is. This isn't like fees in lieu of and stuff like that. These are strict ordinances. Your ordinances are, as I told you before, in my estimation, are 20 to 40 years behind. What you could do today probably wouldn't bring it up to today, but you might get it within 5 or 10 years from now back. And hopefully you can bring this thing around and start being able to have the type of ordinances that will put quality subdivisions on the ground. So that's gonna bring me to the last thing. I won't use all my time tonight. You're gonna really like this idea. I'm going to suggest and offer to you that based on the condition of your ordinances, that you immediately put in place a moratorium on all new preliminary and final plats for approval or application that encumber more than 10 lots or 10 acres. What this will do is give you time to correct your problems at hand, get you a department set up that can establish and review ordinances, and you'll be off and running. So right now, I just am with several of you saying, let's don't kick the can any further. You just have to grab it by the horns and start doing something about it. So I hope you will take that into consideration for the good of the county and the taxpayers.
I want to stop it here a second. Don Mize, Glenn Hart, John Elliott, and Julian Davis. They're watching, they're looking, and they're acknowledging John Morey. The chairman is looking down, not looking at him. In the bottom corner, somebody's got their cell phone out. Mm-hmm. Do y'all see that?
Yep.
So Don, Glenn, Julian, and John are all focused, giving the courtesy and respect to John as a citizen. So those four are doing exactly what they should do. I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention.
So let's talk about that chart for just a minute.
Yeah. Let me put the chart back up for everybody.
So what John is trying to tell them is there's a process that the county should follow when it comes to setting up these subdivisions that are bigger than 10 acres or there's a threshold that you need to have more standards than others, right?
He's trying to do an organizational chart.
And if you look at that organizational chart,
it's outstanding.
This guy knows what he's talking about.
He knows exactly
right?
what he's talking about, exactly what Oconee needs.
But do we even have a county engineer? Probably not.
No.
County surveyor?
We do. It's Glenn Hart. We know that for a fact.
Planning and zoning, the fire chief, and parks and rec director. It's important that EMS, all your services need to be aware of what's coming into the county. That way it's not a surprise to them when 5,000 houses show up in an area and they're like, well, whoa, what happened here? We don't have the facilities for that. There's triggers, like the GIS and addressing lady. What's she going to do? If she's got another 5,000 addresses to work up and didn't know it until last minute. All these wickets need to be touched, and if you do that and you use a plan like this right here, before you approve anything, everybody knows what's happening and everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, I agree. Chris, you want to add anything to it?
Well, I look at it and I see the residents, and I was trying to understand what's happening here. So,
well, let me see if I can help you a little bit.
Okay.
You have the residents and in the county council, you have a county administrator, of course, the county attorney, and then you have a development service director, and then you break it down into the quarry director for the rock quarry. Then you're going into a county engineer, which something I believe we need. Then you have a county surveyor, planning and zoning, the fire chief, and parks, recreation, tourism. And up under those, you're developing the staff of the rock quarry. Then you have maintenance, bridges, and maintenance, the building codes. Under those, office staff, plan, office and inspection staff. Then we move over to the county survey, and we have GIS and addressing, which would be the 911 office. Planning and zoning, under those would be the office, review, field inspection staff. The fire chief is very important with the marshal and firefighters, but I think you need to add the emergency services, emergency preparedness in there too with that. That's the only thing I see that's left out. And then Parks Recreation Director, and then the staff. I like what he's come up with. I think it would be a great opportunity to have this, because then it puts us more on a professional level when the residents, which is the main people here, the residents is at the top. They're the number one. They're the taxpayer. They're the one paying the bills. But it also helps in the different departments of what we desperately need in the county.
Well, this chart is just for development services. This is so new developments coming in have a
clear understanding of who they can go to and the names.
If you have a plan and you want to develop some property, these people all need to be aware of your idea, and they need to be in the approval process. That way, everybody in the county knows what's going on. And the residents at the top, that just means that the county council and everybody below them have to keep in mind the residents that already exist. Those people are the priority.
Okay, but when you look at this, then that's a process, just like a workflow.
Exactly.
It
That's
is.
what it is.
That's
You
what
look
it
how
is.
many people are on there. I mean, you never get anything approved.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying that you don't.
Now, Dwight Baker came and he had that same argument.
Who did?
with Dwight Baker. He came from down
I
in
don't know
Fairplay.
Dwight Baker, but I can
Yeah,
look at that and say,
the
you got
McMillions.
15 approvals.
Well,
Not-
15,
not-
15 places need to know. If not, you build 5,000 houses and don't tell EMS
No.
about it.
Not
Then
if you-
what happens?
Well,
Morgan
first of all,
Morgan has a good point too. You need to add DNR, because
I agree.
if you're going to be taking out all these trees and moving stuff around, you're going to have an animal issue. If you're clearing.
Well, if you're on the lakes,
cutting
though,
land.
you have to get permission from the Army Corps of Engineers to do any lake cutting, and Duke has their own processes. But I don't see it the way you're seeing it, Chris. I kind of understand you're saying you got all these people. No, you have everybody at what I would consider department heads, and they all have to interact with each other for the residents' sake of development. Because right now you've had developments are being put in that these questions, not like roads, impacts, what does that affect? Fire chief, what is it going to affect if you've got a new development being built?
I understand what you guys are saying. Let me just give you a different perspective.
Okay.
Okay, so you look at all these people and you're talking about a real-time process where you're coming in with the development. And I'm assuming you're not talking about a guy coming into a subdivision building one house. You're talking about large development.
This would be
What he said was anything over 10
10
acres
acres.
or 10 homes. So yeah, it just
Okay.
willy-nilly, it's no big deal. But if you're going to have 1,984 homes
Homes.
built on 700 acres, all these people need to be engaged.
Okay, 10 acres. Okay.
10
So I
acres or
had-
more development.
Okay, so I have 13 acres over here that I
Yeah.
developed.
Yeah.
So so if you look at that, and I want to get approval to develop and build those homes, the point is you can create development standards without adding. When you look at this, I mean, this is in a perfect world. You're gonna have every single person looking at it. But logically, what's going to take place, unless you have something, I don't think you have the discipline in this county to do any type of workflow. Workflow like, okay, it hits this person first. Boom. I'm looking in my NQ and I'm like, okay, well, I got you know.
I do agree with you on that.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is these developers, I mean, I'm looking at both sides. We don't have shit when it comes to development standards. And that's why you have these planners talking about things like, well, geez, we approved this subdivision. We didn't even know if anybody could build on it. But when you look at this, these are the groups that are all impacted, so they should have a say in it or at least be prepared. And the question is, how would that process work? Because you look at all these people, you'll never get anything approved.
I do like the idea, though, seriously, of having that county engineer. And if you follow the flow chart, you have roads, bridges, and maintenance, and then building codes. We have a problem right now in building codes.
Right. Well, then you have to have a turnaround. You have to have a turnaround, what they would call it, a CTQ,
Well,
critical to
well, the-
quality.
But
But
if you had this and you implemented this, of course it would be hard at first. But once you implemented this and you started following this and you had everybody, this would become streamlined. This would become the standard, and this would
I agree.
become every day.
Well, the thing is, Kathy, this right here is the standard everywhere else in the world.
No,
Yeah, every
I
normal
don't
place.
believe that. And I'm telling you, man, that's when you
Well-
look at that from a work perspective and a flow,
But the
you-
problem
the
is-
cycle
Hey,
time to
even-
get
But the
Even-
problem is, this is how Clemson University operates right now.
Even McDonald's and Waffle House have a flow chart that they use
Of people that are responsible.
who's
This is
responsible
what
for
industrial engineers do.
And-
This is their job.
Clemson University uses
most
this all the
of the time,
time.
and this is what I did when I developed workflows and I streamlined. And I had to reduce cycle time and all that. If we do something like that, that's fine. But if you're going to do something like this, then this is what I'm going to tell you. My fear is here. Something like this, where maybe you bring 2 or 3 groups together and they get it approved at one time, or maybe you have a weekly session like, look, okay, guys, we're going to look at this and we're going to sit in here and we're going to go ahead and either approve or not approve these new subdivisions every single week during this day. I mean, there are a lot of different things, but doing something like this you have to be able to put something like this in place, and that takes a lot of work.
But here's the problem. We don't have anything in place now
Right.
that is working.
Right.
So what is the issue of not trying
But
to
here-
do something
but-
like this to
but
see
right-
if we
right
can put
here-
the
There is.
county?
I'm not saying no.
But right here's the solution to this work chart, this flow chart. There's 7 key places here, right? I can't really see it anyway, but there's 7 of them. There's 7 people on the planning commission. Get rid of the planning commission and require these 7 departments to come together once a month or once every 2 weeks or whatever the planning commission meets now.
You
and
can't.
they approve that.
You can't.
Okay.
I
You
think
have
it's
to have a
state,
plan.
it's
But
state
you're-
law. You have
but
to have, Kathy's right, you have to have a planning
Well, we
commission.
need to have one worth the darn.
Well, that's going to be going back
So-
to your county council
But
who
you're coming,
appoints these
you're
people.
jumping, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just telling you logically, we're jumping to a solution. Now, that's a good proposal, like, hey, these are the people that are impacted. So the question would be, okay, is this really all the people that are impacted? If it is, what would the process be and
So-
how much time
I
would it
see
take?
this going outside beyond the way it's written. It's kind of like it's beyond a development services department. I see this county engineer doing more than just development with subdivisions. I see the county engineer being responsible for the overall engineering aspect of what's going on in the county when it comes to roads, bridges,
Well, what that one guy-
capital projects.
What'd that one guy do before Glenn Hart had him fired?
Same thing. He was the county engineer. It
was weird.
He was the developer of he did stuff like this.
So the one thing we do agree is that we got a problem.
We do have. Well,
We have a huge
I
problem
think
in the
we-
county, yep.
And I think we've acknowledged that we do have. But as long as you have the 3 horsemen up there,
Exactly.
this is great in
But
theory,
if
and
we-
this is a good conversation piece, and I like it. But as long as we've got the 3 that's not willing to listen to what's going on around them, we're just sitting
It
here
will go
farting.
nowhere.
We're farting in the wind.
Well, but here's
Give
what I
it
wanna-
6 months, and they'll come back and they'll change the name of it. And we'll
Right.
see
You know, if
this
you're going to
again.
do it, you get an agreement that it's going to be an active project, you fund it, you assign people. I mean, this stuff is not
With
easy,
the-
but it can be done.
With a process like this, the county would have known about 1,984 homes going on 700 acres before it came to a county council meeting, and everybody goes,
Well, and that's
You wouldn't have that.
That's it. There's a kind of like a communication breakdown. I mean, one group doesn't want to tell the other group. And I'll real quickly before we get back, it's the same thing that we're facing right now again. Here we go. We've got this damn junkyard ordinance back in play again. They send it down, they send it back. They send it down, they send it back. And it's kind of like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. Then it gets to county council. Yeah, Kathy, I'm with you. It's the same thing, and we've been talking about this for three years. In the interview on Sunday, you all need to listen to what Julian Davis has to say. I think it will shed a whole new light in where we're heading and what's going on.
Okay, the last thing is too, is when you look at things like this, and we know we need improvement, it's just a question on funding, who's gonna lead it, who's gonna be, where you're gonna get the commitments from, because when I say the commitments to do something, you have people on council that actively use this type of stuff to stymie any type of progress.
Right.
And that's a political issue that is very tough to solve. It needs to be up there.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's go back and get back into more of the county council meeting on our recap show here on this Wednesday.
Thomas Watford.
Good evening, my name is Tom Watford. About 30 days ago, I discovered an urgent and present danger within Oconee County as I was viciously attacked by 4 dogs riding my motorcycle right outside of Westminster, coming home from the grocery store. Following this attack and dealing with what comes with this experience, I have noticed that there is an ever-present issue of dogs running at large throughout the county. My wife herself has even hit a random vehicle going to work in the middle of the night on the road, no leash, no collar, which we've incurred a $85 expense, I think, to repair. Now we have an ordinance, Chapter 4 in the Oconee County, South Carolina Code of Ordinances, on animals at large, which I won't bore you with reading it. Y'all have access to that. And in speaking to animal control, Oconee County Animal Control, I've discovered there's been 63 dog bites to date this year. Some of those are owner related. I'm sure a good majority of those are maybe not. But the issue is animal control, from as I've discovered, doesn't have the facilities to house these animals that they need to pick up. So therefore, if it's not a dangerous dog bite, they're discouraged from picking the animal up off the street. So, my great suggestion, I would hope that as a council, working with the sheriff's department, you could work on funding maybe a facility to put these dogs, because as the state law is written, they have to house these dogs for 5 days before they can euthanize them if there's no owner. And right now we're at capacity. They cannot house any more dogs unless it's a severe bite. Speaking to you as someone who fought for my life 30 days ago with no means of serious defense, we got to do better. We got to do better. Quick Google search will prove to you that I'm not the only victim. There's several others within our own county. Within the past year, there's 2 different people that were attacked by the same pack of dogs within the city limits of Seneca. There was a woman that had to be flown out of the city limits of Westminster due to a dog attack. So, what are we going to do about it? And that's my question. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watford.
There are no more speakers.
All right, any comments we want to make about that?
Well,
Yeah,
I'll tell
I
you
mean-
go ahead, Kathy.
What kind of dogs run down a man on a motorcycle? I mean, is that something that needs to be in city limits where they can get people walking on the sidewalk and stuff? I mean, 4 dogs on a motorcycle, y'all. That's some mean dogs
Yeah.
running loose. I mean, I'm with him. Well, what do you do about that? They need, and he's right. They are at capacity. So they just, the council, what was it, $25,000 to the Humane Society that they help fund the shelter. Is that not correct? Am I wrong about that?
Well, according to Jeff, the Humane Society's whittling down the numbers they got over there.
Yep.
So they probably do have quite a bit of room every 5 days. But dangerous dogs don't belong in cities.
The
I agree with that.
I need to go back and think about this. It's not 5 days. He's wrong about that. There is I think it's a 7-day hold on any dog that comes into the animal control before anything can be done with it.
Well-
And then after the 7 days, but see, did he exactly say which area that this happened in?
So them dogs that attacked him, that story comes from the Mill Village
Which Mill Village?
in Seneca. He said inside the city limits. So
That's not inside the city limits.
that's what he said.
No,
So
that's not. That's in the county. That is not a part of the city of Seneca. The Utica Mill Village
But-
is not.
but regardless of where it is, I mean, you got to take precautions when you're out and about at night. Because we got bears, coyotes, we got bobcats, we got all kinds of
We
stuff.
got coyote. We have a problem with coyotes right now.
But my point though is vicious dogs don't belong in the city. If you live out in the country and you have livestock animals that are there to protect your flocks, you need dogs that are aggressive. I have 3 very aggressive dogs, and FedEx man won't even get out of the truck, but they don't leave the property. And if they do, they're in pursuit of something, and generally it's a bear.
Yeah, but you're in more of a rural area in the mountains where there's not
But-
a lot of folks that's going to be walking up
Well,
and
you
coming
would-
and
you
driving
wouldn't-
motorcycles.
You wouldn't believe the amount of bicyclers
Well, that's
that get chased by my dog.
that's true.
You don't believe the amount of
No.
walkers that want to use the road you can't even drive on to walk on.
Which is which.
But
I
it-
hear what you're
so-
saying.
But that's
So-
your private
but-
property
it
too.
But-
it shouldn't be any different than being outside or
But that-
outside
but
city.
it-
or
that's
inside.
your- but
I
that's your
agree.
private property,
But-
too.
And I do everything I can to keep those dogs on my property.
Right.
You know, and we got, we've had some issues with folks walking by. Oh, your dogs are terribly aggressive. I say they're 15 feet away and they're barking,
And they're on your property.
and they're not going to cross that fence. So if they do cross that fence, I'd run because they've deemed you a threat. And if you're not threatening the property or anything like that, you don't got to worry about nothing.
All right.
Okay,
But I'm
so
just
let me
thinking
say-
a moving motorcycle. And they attacked him on a moving motorcycle.
Right.
That's,
Yeah. See,
If it runs,
that's
they'll
an
chase it.
issue, y'all.
but I've rode motorcycles, and I have a motorcycle. I've had dogs run out in front of me. I've had dogs that are on a sidewalk try to chase me. But there's kind of a little bit more to this story I'd like to ask.
Maybe it's a moped.
Well, I hope it's not. But see, I do
You
know
said
if he,
motorcycle.
but if he's talking about the Utica Mill Village, he is correct, because there is an issue that we have dogs running free on the Utica Mill Village, and we have some dogs that you don't want to walk up and talk and say, "Come here, Spot," and pet them on the head. So yeah, I understand that, but there's a couple more things I'd like to ask about that. But chasing a motorcycle, there's a little bit more to it.
Let me say one thing. So I'm going to make an assumption that you break it out into 2 sections. One is like you got dogs that nobody owns; they're just wandering around.
Mm-hmm. Got strays.
Yeah, then the strays need to be picked up, and dealt with. You also have dogs that have owners, and in the end, the owners are responsible for their dogs on their property and off their property. And that means if they're on their property, and somebody comes on the property to deliver a package or whatever, like they do here or whatever, or they chase somebody walking or whatever, then the penalties need to be there, because what's going to happen is that dog's going to bite somebody. You're going to have one claim paid, and you're going to end up having your insurance
Well,
drop to
the, the other thing that you could do to solve this issue is, we have laws in place where you abuse an animal, you get arrested. You could create more stiffer penalties, but then again, we don't want to prosecute our child offenders either. So it's a no-win situation here. Look, I love animals, and I'll do all I can to keep the animals from being put down. I did believe in one time in what our Oconee Humane Society was doing, but I've had to second guess myself now. But there are organizations out there that are still working, Clemson Paws, Anderson Paws, to the benefit. But it's going to take a concerted effort that we've got to change the people that gets these dogs. That's where the real issue lies. When you have 3 or 4 dogs and you lock them up all the time, we could go into a whole story about this. I
Right.
don't want to,
No,
but there's
no.
a whole lot of other variables here that need to be looked at and addressed first. I mean, I'd love to save every one of them, and I know that unfortunately we probably can't. But there's laws and ordinances. But if you put these ordinances into place, you really have to be able to enforce the ordinances. Now, is the sheriff's department going to get in doggy patrol? That's the other thing. We have animal control right now that, you call about a dog and it doesn't seem like that they want to do anything. I've seen that before. I've heard other people talk about that. There's just a whole lot of issues here.
Right, and these dogs can kill people,
Well-
and they'll kill people across the nation.
Well,
I
and
mean-
that's the thing too. It's more of a bad owner problem.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know that you have an aggressive dog and you refuse to keep it up, and you're letting it roam around, and you live in town, and you know that there are leash laws, and you're supposed to have it put up, and it goes after somebody,
Yeah.
you're the problem. You're the problem, number one, and number two, you're liable if they hurt somebody.
Yep.
And this is, and people are going to hate me and send the emails. Go ahead and send the emails. But, this is why a lot of people carry guns. I mean, you have a right to defend yourself. You're driving
yeah.
down the road. If a bunch of dogs jump on you, or if you're trying to take a walk or take your children out and you're on the sidewalk and 4 dogs come after you, this is why people care.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily people.
I want to mention this. Lori heard that there's a vicious dog named Jazzy Emma running around Barnes Road area.
No.
Okay. All right.
And Jazzy Baby.
We need to get back into the conversation. So public comment is over, and now let's go into council comments.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, brace
Here
yourself.
we go.
Next, we'll move to council member comment session. Any council members like to speak?
Yeah, just touching base, I did, Mr. Wofford, we had a good conversation on the phone, and we did talk about, animals roaming without knowledge of really who the owner is. We've done a better job in the last few years. It needs to continue to get better. The funding, needs to improve, and I think we've done some good things in this budget cycle to increase funding for the spay and neuter program, which helps, keep the population down. Holding owners accountable is a big thing, especially for dogs like that, and not only in your case, but I know of several other cases that has involved that. Sometimes it's involved the same dog. So I think we're doing some really good things. We got some new people that's in that position. I know they've reached out to you, probably will continue to reach out to you to address that situation. It is unfortunate. It's unfortunate not only for the human, but it's unfortunate for the dog, probably for the environment that dog is living in to create that. Because some people blame it on the breed. I blame it on the owner of the dog and the environment that dog's in. So I think we're headed in the right direction. We need to do more. Funding is very expensive to keep that, but I do agree with you that we need to continue to make sure we're doing the best thing that we can so that doesn't happen again. Will it happen? Yeah. Will it be? Can we do some things locally to help put some pressure on those owners? Yes. And that's what I think we need to continue to do.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any other comments?
I don't have
Mr. Warford, I appreciate you coming forward. I had a very similar situation about 9 years ago, so I know a little bit about what you feel. And if you don't mind, I'd like to get your phone number from Mr. Davis, and I'll give you a call sometime. Thank you. There are no other comments? We move to public hearings. I have a public hearing on ordinance number 2023-17. An ordinance authorizing pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina, 1976, as amended, the execution and delivery of a special source revenue credit agreement by and between Oconee County, South Carolina, and Books for Less LLC, along with Miles 302 Palmer LLC, also known as Project Galt, acting for themselves, one or more current or future affiliates and other project companies collectively, providing for a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes incentive, providing for a special source revenue credit, creating a or modifying an existing joint county industrial and business park between Oconee County and Pickens County so as to designate the property of the project as part of the park and other related matters. For open public hearing.
There are no speakers.
With no speakers, I close public hearing on ordinance 2023-17. Next, we have third and final reading of ordinance 2023-17. That's the ordinance I just read for public hearing. It's on your screen in front of you. Do I have a motion?
Move. Second.
I have a motion, Mr. Davis, second, Mr. Elliott. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to welcome Books for Less here in Oconee County and look forward for Books for Less to grow as we grow.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott.
I'd like to echo what Mr. Elliott said. I'm grateful for the purchase of that building and repurpose of that, as well as hoping for some growth, and that's a large tract of land, so I appreciate them looking at that, and choosing Westminster is a great place to locate their business.
Mr. Davis? Any other comments? I just like to say I appreciate them choosing Oconee too. I think there was some Pickens prior, and then using that building that is that's tremendous. All right, so, here no other comments? All in favor?
It's 5-0.
Now, to explain a little bit about this, this is actually talking about the old Dunlop plant, Max Fly, that used to make golf balls. And in this particular situation, this was actually a pretty good investment. That building had been up there empty for probably the last 15, almost 20 years, it seems like, before they left to go over to Pickens County. So having them move in here and get to work on that building, that's only good for them in the Westminster and Oconee County. So I think that was a good move. Any other comments, Kathy?
I just wonder if they okayed this with Moms with Liberty, all those books, you know.
If Moms
If
was,
they got the okay, Moms with Liberty or whatever, if they got the okay to have a bunch of books, I mean, you know, there'll be reading, there'll be stuff there they don't want. Yeah.
well, it's the
All
same.
right.
It's there's going to have to be a Gestapo force that goes down there and reads every book and decides what they can sell.
Yep.
All right.
But what was the fee in lieu of agreement?
They're getting some tax agreement,
Why are they doing that?
because they're investing in Oconee County.
But here's the thing: Matt Durham's against that. Why?
Well,
why
not-
is it that he says he's against that kind of stuff, and then he goes right ahead and approves it?
You need to ask that to the chairman.
So
But
he won't answer.
No. Do you expect him to? I don't.
Maybe
Well-
that's the only way they can get the lawn mowed. He said, yeah, you get it, buddy. Just clean that crap up.
All right, let's move on. Here we go.
All right, second reading of the following ordinance 2023-18, and ordinance amending chapter 32 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances in certain limited regards and particulars only regarding amendments, deletions to the sign control ordinance of Oconee County and other matters related thereto. Have a motion?
Move. Second.
Motion, Mr. Davis, second, Mr. Elliott. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
It's 5-0.
Have first reading of the following ordinance 2023-20. This is in title only. An ordinance authorizing pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina, the execution and delivery special source revenue credit agreement by and between Oconee County, South Carolina, and a company identified as Camden Management Partners Incorporated, acting for itself, one or more current or future affiliates, and other project companies, collectively company, providing for a fee in lieu of ad valorem tax incentive, providing for a special source revenue credit, creating a joint county industrial and business park between Oconee County and Pickens County, so as to designate the property of the project as part of the park and other related matters. I have a motion.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That is 5-0.
We have no resolutions to read tonight. Up next is discussion items regarding development standards in the county. Mr. John Elliott.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for allowing me to have a place on the agenda. This is for new developments I'm proposing, not existing developments, but new developments of 25 acres of land or greater in the aggregate. And these three simple development standards, it's bare bones standards. The first would be lighting pointing downward. My daughter lives in Atlanta, and she can't see the stars and moon at night. And I don't want her or my other daughter or my future grandchildren coming here and not being able to see the moon and the stars and gaze. I know Mr. Drummond just went to New York City, and I'm sure you couldn't see the stars, the moon there either. Number two, I'd like to propose a setback with trees on the perimeter of the property, all sides as a buffer. This is to ensure quality of life, preserve the beauty of Oconee County. And number three, 1 acre of green space set aside for every 25 acres of land. Here again, quality of life and preserve the beauty of Oconee County. I'm not sure we can stop clear cutting, but at least the perimeter would have trees. So I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to write up an ordinance on development standards with these three criteria and place the proposed ordinance on the next council agenda. After first reading, it will go down to the planning commission for their comments and then back up to county council for second reading. That's my motion.
I have a motion from Mr. Elliott,
I'll second it for discussion.
second from Mr. Davis for discussion. Any discussion?
Well, I don't agree with part of that myself. Putting trees on the borders of the property, I think is ridiculous myself. It'd be,
I hate trees. I don't like trees at all.
Well, they
I
get
don't.
in
I
the-
think
What
they
do you
need to
think?
cut. I think they need to cut every damn tree down in Oconee County. They need to start up at Wade McCall's place and cut all the damn trees down up there. There's too many damn trees in Oconee County. Them damn the green things that just floats around, and I think that's the way we're gonna cut the damn trees down.
I
He's gonna-
hate oxygen. They give us oxygen. I hate it.
I mean, he's going to disagree because it's Elliott or Davis. You know,
I think that's correct.
I'm glad I bought a
That
sawmill.
is the
I'm ready
truest
for
thing.
it.
I hate trees. Trees, they suck. I tell you.
Well, they get in this line of bearing. He can't do his survey.
Every time he
Trees are in the
speaks,
way.
every time he speaks now, I think of that clown music. All right, back to
Well,
it.
I got to tell you real quick before going further. What I hear is Bill Clinton saying, "Well, it depends on what the definition of is. I hate trees." All right, go ahead.
waste of property, and I disagree with the green area per ever 25 acres. I don't think that should be one of the standards either.
Any further discussion?
So for every 25 acres of asphalt, we do not need an acre of trees.
No trees.
No green.
We got to get rid of the trees.
I mean, he's
No
already
green.
suffering from a lack of oxygen.
Oconee,
Let
the
alone-
land of no trees.
Land
No
with
green.
Concrete,
No green.
concrete all the way to the lake.
Jeff, let me say
Asphalt.
something. So this is Glenn saying he doesn't agree with this, agree with that. You know what the thing about it is, the majority of the people in the county who provided input for the comprehensive plan want greenways, and they want zoning. and they want line of sight without having billboards and crap like that. So, these guys are only providing their own personal opinions by a few people that are somehow controlling
Or
them.
they're subject to make money off of
Exactly.
it.
So they're not doing their jobs. I don't even know why the hell anybody would vote for
And
them.
by the way, the Green Project, the Greenway is construction underway in Walhalla.
I saw that.
I bet that has to piss off a lot of people.
I'm
If you,
dusting off my sneakers.
But I just didn't. Did he not go up there to High Falls Park and look at that old house? Or
they did.
I bet he itched the whole time he was in that park. I bet that he just does not like parks.
I don't think they like parks. They don't like foreign traditions. We know that. They wrote that up. David Nix wrote that up. We've got copies of that. You can't have any foreign trees. No, foreign trees.
Orange trees.
No
None
more
of those
foreign
palm
trees.
or anything.
No more mimosas. No more.
no Bloody Marys.
What's those pear trees?
Yeah, Bradford pears.
Bradford pears. They got Chinese
Those are
roots.
invasive.
Yeah.
What if Elliot said he wanted more diversity?
Oh my God.
What would he say?
Tune in next week for that.
Tune in next week for another edition of LTO.
Yeah, think about that. What would they say?
Hey, Kathy, what do you always say, from the weeds to the trees to the weeds?
From the trees to the weeds.
We won't have that problem with Glenn.
We won't have that problem with Glenn. We won't have any weeds in Oconee County either.
No.
It'll be.
They're too green.
No, what we should do is call Nassau and get them to come up here and put a big old spear all over Oconee County, and we can pretend like we're in Mars. Now, does that
put a
sound?
big-
Yeah.
Be in a big bubble.
Okay, let's move on.
I think as we move along with discussion, it'll be good to have a multitude of individuals to kind of talk about it a little bit, throw around in the planning commission. It could come back through committee, or it could come back through to council. I plan to move in favor of that just so we can have that discussion and address some of those things. Mr. Hart, I think kind of what you're talking about is a single acre in the middle of it, and I don't think that's the idea is to quit having a desert of a subdivision for those that live around it. And I know some houses that we've had that's been impacted by housing developments, and I know the property's for sale, anybody can buy it, which is great, that the house is built right on top of them and they've lost some trees. So I think a buffer is good for everybody, including the developer as well, for the charm of what Oconee County is about. So, but I look forward to hearing the discussion from multiple people as we move forward. And then bring back to council, we got 2 readings, public hearing, and then a 3rd reading. So you're looking at March, April, May of next year. So a long time to kind of talk to some people.
Well, if you look at the housing development process, they come in, they cut everything down, and they grade it off smooth. They grade up all the topsoil, and they take it to Charleston or one of these big cities somewhere, and they sell topsoil for a premium. Then they build these houses, and then they got somebody trying to sell you sod and trees for your yard at a premium. This stuff is all about business and money to be made. The tree thing is just to keep the people that live in the subdivision from having to look at Walmart when they put the subdivision beside Walmart or Dollar Store or whatever big business with a great big light that goes in your baby's bedroom, and they can't sleep without having some light canceling curtains. And then you have to do all of that kind of stuff, and it costs more to heat and cool your house because you don't have natural shade, you don't have natural windbreaks, things like that. Without trees, these neighborhoods are deserts for 15, 20, 25 years. And Julian's right. We need everybody to weigh in on this process.
So, and I agree with you. But let me just ask a very simple question. We have a comp plan that was put out in 2020. It was very extensive. And what we're talking about here is what the majority of residents, we spent 80 grand. What these guys don't like in the majority is it doesn't agree with what they want. So why are we why are we messing around with stuff like this when we have a comp plan as a guide that we should be using to understand how we can use it and actually accomplish something.
It does not fit into the agenda of the three.
Right. And they're government representatives that are representing a very, very small minority when the majority has spoken about what they want, which means they're not fit for office. Period.
Well, it goes.
They're in office. There's nothing we can do about it at this point.
But
let's just say it. They're not fit for office.
I had a conversation with one of you. I don't know who, maybe it was you. We talked about referendums. You remember that conversation? Mm-hmm. I don't remember a bond like this without going before a referendum, and I don't understand why this bond should go before a referendum. Anytime that you're dealing with money such as this amount, this should go before the citizens of Oconee County.
Absolutely.
In previous years, we've done that. Now, it's been a while. I mean, we used to have to do a referendum for building a new school. The people are the one that needs to answer these questions. The council is supposed to be there to advise and give good, sound policy decisions, but when it comes to the bonds and things like that, that needs to be in a referendum where the citizens say yes or no. You had to do it on that penny sales tax they wanted to do just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
What about
Where they wanted to, do the penny sales tax, and they had all of these projects that they wanted to do, the new libraries and all sorts. Kathy, you remember that?
I do remember that.
Okay.
I do remember that.
And it had to go to a referendum. Okay, the answer yes or no, and it failed. So you're wanting to raise taxes. So what's the difference between raising it and doing a bond? The bond's the same thing. You're wanting to spend
because it's
money.
You're going to pay for it.
Well, hopefully you'll get a little bit more clear answer Sunday night at 7:00 because Julian is going to talk about that.
Okay, but here's the thing.
But my point of it is a referendum is supposed to allow the citizens to decide if they want to collectively do this.
Like Golden
Right,
Corner Commerce Park?
No, that was totally different. That was totally. One day I will do a show just on the origins of how we got that and the mess it became.
Okay, so it's no
Well,
different than what we're doing right now for sewer.
Right. Well, we're leaving the trees thing, but I think
What are you talking about?
the tree idea that Mr. Hart says he hates trees. We're leaving that. He's got more to say. He's got a lot more to say here that we need to listen to, and so if we can.
Get your thoughts, so, glad for the discussion.
No discussion?
Well, I'd like
Get your
I'd like
thoughts.
to have a minute here and say, I haven't fully read the development standards. Being the freshman up here, I'm still catching up. But if you look around the county, and I've lived here my entire life, so I've seen the entire changes. Maybe not necessarily up toward the lake. I was a country boy. And I do think, though, with times changing and us becoming what I will call a destination point, we've been found and discovered that we probably need to, maybe like Julian's saying, take a comprehensive look at the development standards. And more than likely, they do need to be updated to some degree. Not getting into any of the specific details of what we would put in it, but it needs to come from like a committee from various ideas. And
Okay, that's where I need to stop it right now. Coming from a committee, you have a damn planning commission that can't even put together a junkyard ordinance.
Well, they won't even read the comprehensive plan.
They've
You go.
read it.
There you go. There, you said it.
Who?
What?
Who said it?
I said it. Y'all said it. Y'all just said it.
Yeah,
the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, but the thing about it is Randy...
Get back on the mic.
Randy said they haven't read it.
Two people know the insides.
They have read it. They're ignoring it.
No. Two people have read it.
Who?
Two people have tried it, and they're working. They want to, and that's Julian and John. They're the only two that have been
Are you
invested.
talking about Council or Planning Commission?
I'm talking about the comprehensive plan.
I know.
The
but
planning commission, Teresa Spicer is the only one.
Brett Adams
She's
is-
the only one on there
That
that has
supports
read
it.
it and supports it.
Nix.
Bro, don't get me started on Brett
Hey,
Adams.
listen.
Nix has read that entire plan.
bull crap.
Are you kidding me? He knows it by scratch.
No, he don't.
Oh, yes, he does.
I'm going to tell you right now, Brett Adams ain't going to read it unless it takes him on the way to Burger King. I'm going to tell you right now, if it don't smell like a Burger King wrapper, that man ain't going to eat it. And all he's going to do is say, F it, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, again, the whole thing.
Does anybody read the Wall Street Journal around here? He says, well, we're kind of getting discovered. You've got full page ads. You've had it a couple of years ago in the Wall Street Journal about
Let's
Lake
talk
Kiwi.
Oconee.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that about Lake Kiwi.
But it won't be long
We're
till
being
we'll be there.
discovered. You're actively driving it. So why in the hell aren't you doing things as simple as planning for the growth that you're going to get
Well,
anyway?
now, wait a minute. Let's talk about that. You make a good point. Being found out. How did we get found out? I'll tell you how we got found out. It was the other side of the county government, which is the Mountain Lakes Convention Tourism Board, and they're the ones that started doing all of these. Come to Oconee. Hashtag Oconee's
discover
here.
Oconee.
That's right. Exactly. So your county government is what's been responsible for finding out that country boy has made it.
Yeah, I read that. But here's one last thing I want to get across. So what Myers is saying, yeah, okay, we've been talking about that, but it's all hot air because nobody's doing squat about it. But what's happening is everybody's seeing it happen right now. And I'm telling you what's going to happen, and Elliot says it too, fair play is going to be obliterated. You're going to get 130, it's going to be obliterated. All these places.
4 miles of interstate is all that's in Oconee County.
It's all going to be obliterated. What could happen is you could have growth in a vibrant community and protect the resources. And that's nothing to do with being a tree hugger. That's smart business. What we're doing right now is we're opening the door to anybody to do anything they want to make a buck, and that's going to kill this county.
Yep.
I want you to be a tree hugger, Chris.
Well,
I think we all need to be tree. Tonight we're going to go hug a tree.
I'm a Matty Ratty hugger.
Randy, you go hug a tree up at Mountain Rest, and I'll go hug a tree in Seneca.
All I can say is when Wayne McCall first started talking about cutting down trees around the lake, I knew it was a solid investment to go buy a sawmill and bring them on, baby. Bring them.
All right, back to the meeting we go. Click, clack, clunky, clunk.
Any and all things could be considered. We could take these three as some consideration, but there may be others. There may be other places in that standard that really.
Well, I can assure you there's one standard that people are beginning to talk about, and that's going to blow everything out of proportion.
The double standard?
It's
double
called
standard.
zoning. It's called zoning. Brace yourself, folks. They coming for your property now when they start talking zoning.
It's the Chinese, the globalists, the socialists.
The development that is coming in and the type of development that's coming in. What I don't want to see is I don't live too far off of Highway 59, and I travel 59 at least weekly. And there's one development just outside of Seneca where the 4 lanes turns in back into 2. And we've got houses sitting in there, and they're 10 foot apart.
Now, he's right. He's exactly right. Don's right there. And I know the subdivision he's talking about, they are stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, so what? That's just one. Shit, they're everywhere, and they're getting more. I mean, I'm like,
know.
really, no shit, Sherlock.
And they
dude.
just now started to notice this.
Yeah,
Who
I
told
mean,
them
and they're
this
just getting
last year?
started.
Or
We did,
as my niece used to say, we told you about that lasterday. Okay?
Yeah.
We've been saying this. Hello, wake up.
look, we've been saying this for at least the good portion of this population has been saying this for 10, 15 years, that this was happening right before our eyes.
And you know what McMahon said?
And we just kept turning it up. Go ahead. What?
When I wrote that about zoning,
Yeah.
he said, yeah, Chris trying to steal the land from the farmers.
That everybody's been saying that. That's one of that's the go-to when you want to go to something. Just they're trying to take your property. They're trying to steal your property. I've
Absolutely.
heard that
And I
till
mean,
I'm about sick of
pick
it.
a side, dude. Pick a side, because
That's
one minute they're
stupid.
all about property rights, and you
All
should
right.
be able to do whatever you want to with your property. But then it bothers him when he leaves his gated community to drive by and see one house too close to the other one. Which is it?
Well,
Pick a side.
that's right. He's in the gated community now.
Who is?
Don.
The
I didn't know that.
$600,000
I mean,
house
all,
over on
all
the golf
of them
course.
live in,
Hell, I
their
don't have a gate.
$500,000 plus homes, and they talk about I'm for the common man.
'Cause I'm the common man.
I'm a
country
common
boy. Yeah,
man.
tell me
I'm the
about it,
common man.
country
No
boy.
gates for me.
Well, I'm a common man. All right, back to the show we go.
Just the minimum setback. That's what I don't want to see happen to Oconee County. So that's my 2 cents worth, and I would like to see us
What
go
kind of
comprehensive
setbacks
review
you
on
got at your house?
So I spoke with Miss Linville. She represents the Clemson area. On
This
the,
is interesting.
Pickens County Council. They're currently undergoing a,
Let me preface this. Now, okay, Matt spoke to Miss Linville, and she is a Democrat.
Yeah, she's a good Democrat.
complete makeover
I'm from
of their
Pickens.
development standards.
Yeah.
And
Nice lady.
some of the stuff they're doing, I don't know if we have the appetite in Oconee County for it. I guess it'd be seen if they have the appetite for it in Pickens County. I didn't realize this, but right now there's no zoning in Pickens County, according to Miss Linville. But one of the things she talked about that they're doing, or that they're proposed that's coming forward for reading, is something similar to what Mr. Elliott's bringing forward here. So far, it's not so much limited on acreage. It's like if a subdivision of 10 house sites or less, then there's pretty much no regulation. They can clear cut it and build over 10, then they start triggering points for green space and stuff like that. One thing we have to be cognizant of is home prices are through the roof, and they're continuing to rise.
Stop me and hold me back, but is that the first time I've ever heard him agree with a Democrat?
Did they go to high school together?
That's a good question, Kathy. I can't answer that.
I'm just wondering how that meeting came about. It's
I'm
strange.
just finding it completely bizarre. This is
I mean, she's
this group
lovely,
is the
don't get me wrong.
this group is the anti-Democrat though. You have the
Yeah.
chairman that's supposed to be the leader of the anti-Democrats. What in the world is the swamp donkey gonna have to say about this in his next donkey rant?
Are these guys integrated in anything they do as a team? I mean, what the hell is he doing? Going off on his own?
Please tell me that y'all all heard the same thing, because my mind has just been blown.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I
Because
said,
this
she
is
is
the
lovely.
group. I mean, this is the group that attacks every Democrat coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
It don't matter, local, whatever. They're attacking every Democrat.
Yes.
Jody Gala got
Nasty.
attacked. Everybody
Yes,
got
being
attacked.
very nasty.
But yet he is sitting here, kind of agreeing with a Democrat that was elected to the Pickens County Council. Randy, help me out here. Am I wrong?
Smart lady,
By
the way.
am I missing something here, that something doesn't make sense?
Well, I don't know if she's Democrat or not. I'm trying to look her
No,
up.
she is a Democrat.
She is.
Yes,
She's a lovely lady, yes.
she won the Democratic nomination, and she beat what's his name in the Republic. She is a Democrat.
And did she
Yeah,
beat
she
that
ran
dude
against
that was
the
saying all
guy,
that
remember
nasty
the
ran-
crap?
guy that
yes, she is
had
a
all the
Democrat.
racist stuff on his Twitter.
Yes,
And
yes.
then tried to say that it wasn't him that put it, and his
She
grandmother
is
was all mad at us.
100% Democrat.
So she is. She got a BA in communication from Wake Forest and a master's in professional communication from Clemson. Our career has taken her from managing marketing, team pitching speakers in Washington, D.C., to running PR and membership campaigns for the South Carolina Botanical Gardens.
Mm-hmm. She worked for Clemson.
She now takes her holistic understanding of communication to focus on business writing strategy, working to create precise, creative, and persuasive copy of Align's clients, whatever that is.
Is she from Pickens? Is what was my.
I'm looking, trying to see there. It's not, her bio doesn't say a whole lot. That's good though.
I sincerely don't know.
But my point I wanted to make, we're sitting here and he's having a conversation about something that a Democrat in Pickens County But remember, this group, the Democrats, they're the Antichrist. They're the socialists. They're the everything coming. But yet he's taking advice from a Democrat. Boy, I can't wait to see the Swamp Donkey.
Well, I've got news for him. There's nobody in Oconee County that wants Oconee County to look like Pickens County. So whatever advice he's getting from there, we don't want it to look like where he grew up.
That's true. You're exactly right. All right, let's see here. Back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show.
We don't want to take actions that's going to exacerbate that problem. We talk about we want jobs so we can have young people.
Got to be careful. That's a big word.
Graduate from Tri-County, Clemson, and staying. But we don't want to make it unaffordable to live. And a lot of things that's been thrown out there would certainly do that, not necessarily what Mr. Elliott is bringing forward right now. So we want to be careful with that. And with buffers and setbacks, you got to be careful too to not use up too much property that drives up the price. Also, we talk about farmland. We don't want to create a situation with urban sprawl where it eats up more of the farmland. But I'm not opposed to moving forward to seeing what this looks like. I appreciate the simpleness of it. I wouldn't want to see something get too complicated because the one that came forward last year, I feel like it was damaging to small businesses if it would have passed because it had that of it too with the buffer. But my biggest question is, do you want to give just 2 weeks? Is 2 weeks enough time for staff to draft?
I don't think we have a meeting the 1st November. That's the election.
About a month.
So it's 4 weeks.
That's enough time? Okay.
Mr. Durham, you kind of brought up something that's, the original, last time this kind of came up, it was very, very simple. And it was really around lighting more than it was anything else. When it came back from planting, it had, the trees were supposed to turn red in the fall. So you're right in kind of what you're talking about. If the instruction.
Oh my God.
What did he say? What did he say?
Okay, so when it came back from planting, the trees are supposed to turn red in the fall.
So it couldn't be evergreens.
Oh, hell no. We got to have red trees. Okay, not only do we have no trees, if we do, they got to be red.
My God, if you get one with a blue leaf on it, what are you supposed to do?
I like red maples.
No red light. Nope, can't have those. They're done. Golly day.
Oh, man.
He's right. I do remember that.
Remember that the colors in the fall are God's paintbrush. And he's reminding us that letting go is okay. What we need to do is let go of this entire council. I mean, my gosh. Go back to Pickens County. This guy's an idiot.
You have to have you got to have a
1868.
planning commission by state law. But then you got Frankie, who at least was honest, saying I can't get anybody to agree to anything.
They can't. Go back. I urge you, go watch Monday night's planning
They can't get
commission
anything.
meeting and just watch it. Here it is. Mickey Haney is sitting there arguing over the junkyard ordinance. Well, it passed. I mean, they're going to send it back to county council again. I tell you what, were you as confused as I was? I have no idea what they're doing.
They're being purposely obstinate.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little game.
So 2 council members asked for this ordinance to come back.
Yep. We think we know who the 2 are.
Obviously, we know who the 2 are.
One of them's Don.
And then, of course, when the trigger words 2 councilmen are tossed out there, whether it's Julian and John or anybody else, the biting dogs are going, no, we're not going to do this. Let's keep it here. Let's do this. They're not going to do anything.
I told you my thoughts on the junkyard ordinance, right? That I think we need something, but it needs to be enacted now. You can't go back and change what people already hear.
Well, here's the thing. We want to be Destination Oconee, and we don't want everybody looking at all your furnishings on your front porch.
Well, I mean, I think this is more commercial junkyard.
But let's be real honest where it starts and where it's going. If they can get a fence around the junkyard, pretty soon down 130 with all them cars that are sitting there, can't go anywhere but look at your yard and go, shit. Right? It won't be long to all of those people that live in all them $500,000 houses over there in those nice neighborhoods that have HOAs, go, man, I wish this dude would clean his
I'm gonna close
junk
my
Well,
out
I mean,
of his
they're
yard.
already over at Madison Point. They come
So-
measure the grass. So
I'm
for
gonna
God's
close my
sakes,
eyes.
But what I'm saying though
to
is,
drive like that.
when you're sitting in your Tesla, you're trying to get to Greenville,
and it explodes and
and-
rear end
but
because of
you're
all the
sitting there-
traffic.
but you're sitting there and you've got to look at this stuff. Where it starts with the junkyard ordinance and where it goes with countywide HOA, round and round, nobody knows where it's going to stop. But these corridors that they want to make look pretty, these lake people just need to go ahead and buy these folks out and make it look pretty.
But wait a minute, the junkyards are not around the lake, is what I'm trying to tell you. We have a junkyard right now that is a traffic hazard on Old Clemson Highway. That's
Has been for 30 years.
30 years.
But here's the thing.
People been calling about it. I would love to know how many wrecks have been, over there.
Hey, but when there's 5,000 more houses over there, the state's going to have to public domain that, and they're going to do eminent domain and have to clean that up to make one of them round circles to go around there.
I got dibs next.
Go real quickly. We're way behind.
Okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to say it. I want everybody to hear it. I've been talking about this since 2009 when I first started talking about planning and zoning, and that's when I had that guy threaten my life, and McMahon then said I was trying to steal farmland.
Take it.
Why in the hell are we talking about junkyards? Who gives a shit about the junkyards? You've got the county burning down with all these new subdivisions, no planning. You're going to decimate Fair Play, and all these other places are totally under. And they're talking about, well, maybe in 2 weeks we can get blah, blah. You know, guys, I'm telling you, Jeff doesn't believe me.
What's that?
I think it's too late. You are not going to impact with this. What's going on now? Before you get serious about this, will be probably 25, 26. By then it's too late. You're going to have this whole area that's going to be so wicky-wacky. You're going to be trying to work on roads just to get by the crap they built.
You have an opportunity in 2024 to right the ship.
Well, yeah.
But I still think you're going to have the right team to right the ship.
You do.
If you don't have the right team, it's still going to be doing the
but
same
it'll
thing.
be on emergency fixes at that point. With right now, they could do the right thing. If you do not, it's like business. You don't have unlimited money and you don't have unlimited time. You make these decisions to do the right thing. It has nothing to do with being a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, Independent. It doesn't matter. It has to do with having the God-given brain to lead.
That's right. Okay, let's get back into the fun part. Kathy, wait a minute. You had something real quick. Go ahead, Kathy. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, back to the lighting and the buffering thing. Lighting can be dangerous. Like if it's not pointed in the right direction, and some of these new lights, where you can see the hairs on the possum as it's crossing the road.
Oh, I wish I had that.
It can be extremely dangerous and blinding when
I can see my dogs in the dark. They hide.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, if it's not pointed in the correct position, that they need to consider that. So if you have some of these stores go in and the lights are pointed at the highway and people are pulling out and that kind of thing, buffering is important. So I just want people to consider that. It can cause accidents and all kinds of stuff.
All right, let's go back now into the show, back to the county council meeting.
Coming down to planning or to keep it simple, I think that's the best method of moving forward.
Rainey had to take a call from Jim Mann.
Or whatever.
Because it's in reference to what we were discussing this evening. It's about the issue in Seneca.
Complex.
Nobody can hear it.
The original intent of that one was to start with development standards regarding lighting. And it turned into something it wasn't. So as we move forward, I think that's good instructions down to planning to, develop. We don't have, to my knowledge, we don't have development standards. We have some zoning, we have some things that are there, but there's not a, council development standards saying this is what we want a subdivision to look like. So there's no development standards. So that's why you don't know, because there is none. So this is us drafting and creating something together. So we're on you to it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
We got the man back there can tell you what type of setbacks we have right now. What kind of setbacks do we have? Yes, sir.
Colby, would you please step forward?
The current setbacks are all based on either the zoning designation and the lot size. So depending on how small or large the lot is, in control-free, there are setbacks. Residential is different setbacks. Agricultural will be different setbacks.
He was just speaking about the apartments on 59, that's, what is the setback?
In a
between-
control-free district, if it's less than a quarter acre lot, it's gonna be 10 foot on the front and 5 on the sides and rear. If it's between a quarter acre and half an acre, it's gonna be 15 on the front, 5 on the side and rear. And if it's a half acre or more, it'll be 25 on the front, 10 on the back, and 5 on the sides. For that particular piece.
Well, while I got you here, I had someone call me and ask me, could they plant a tree and how close to the line could they plant it?
They can plant anywhere they want inside the line.
That's what I told them.
Okay, first of all, we talk about cutting every damn tree down, and now we can plant a tree anywhere on your property. But yet earlier we're gonna cut every damn tree down.
Nobody's calling.
Please help me.
Well, the thing about border
Nobody's
trees,
calling him.
Yeah,
Asking
somebody
about
called
trees.
him, told him where he could plant a tree. All I can think about now is that commercial. Plant a tree for your tomorrow. Go
Plant a
ahead.
tree.
Well, the thing about border trees,
Where's
you
the
plant
air?
you plant a tree on your border, and it's an apple
Plant a
tree.
tree.
The apples that grow on your neighbor's side of the property line belong to your neighbor. They don't belong to you just because they're on your. The tree starts here. If it ends up on the other property, that belongs to the.
Yeah, and
other
if
guy.
it falls and hits your building and knocks your building out, your neighbor has to pay for your building.
That's right.
That's right.
What?
Whoever owns the tree on
Right.
their property.
Well, that's right. And if it runs over on your property and it hits your building and destroys your 1960 something Corvair, then they got to pay for it.
Exactly.
And getting parts for a Corvair is next to useless. You can't.
As long as the neighbor knew. The issue is this: if the neighbor's not an arborist, but if they're
Well,
not, I had the problem with the neighbor over there.
Well,
I sent him a certified letter.
But we have an arborist now in Oconee government. I didn't realize that Glenn Hart was. And now he is. I mean, first of all, we got to cut every tree down, but now we can plant any tree we want to. God, he's got to make up his mind.
He needs to watch the Lorax.
That was me they called it.
You know, can the tree overhang the line, you know?
It'll be a few years before that happens.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Arthur.
I won't object to going forward with another group discussing this. Because I think some of them have the same opinion I've got.
These houses are selling almost before they are built.
And after the first ordinance, of course, first reading, we'll send it down to planning commission and get all their input.
Right.
Yep.
We get
The reason why they're building the houses the way they are is because that's what the market's demanding. So, that's, you know, there's what, 3 or 4 different builds that's going on now. All of them are different standpoints. There's no more $130,000 starting house. It's 230, 240. So I agree
Upwards of
with
400.
Well, yeah, and how you do that when you start. So I agree with being careful about what we're doing, but I also want to make sure that, you know, what's the point on looking like Charlotte?
Well, you gotta hit a medium where the developer can come in and make his profit. I mean, he's in business to make money.
Oh.
But you also gotta take in consideration aesthetics, also the community.
You just can't make housing unaffordable, which it already is. So.
It's hard to define, quote.
They're helping with that.
That right there may be the first thing that I actually agree in what Matt Durham actually said
What do you say?
about housing is unaffordable. And it's
Yeah.
true. We have a major issue and a major crisis now that
Really?
homeowner is, the homeownership is very unaffordable. He's
You know-
right.
But you know, in the comp plan, they talked about affordable housing.
Well, yeah, but that's the first thing that I've actually heard that I agree with him.
What I can't wait to hear county council debate the Section 8 affordable housing coming to Senate. That'll be great.
They won't. They're not going to be debating that. I guarantee you, they're not going to be debating that. That's because that's going to be City of Seneca.
Well, the way that some of the HUD agreements are for urban development, when they'll start those things outside the city limits and get tax breaks, and then it's a county problem, not a city problem.
Nope, it'll be a city problem because they're going to annex that. That's already been a given, and that's already been decided because the city's going to be working together to give them those tax breaks. That was in the public hearing that I attended. I attended that public hearing.
Well, that's just for one spot. This county's growing. We're going to have 125,000 people here in the next 10 years, and where are you going to put them?
Well,
Stump House Tunnel.
Is
House
they?
boats.
Yeah.
The truest thing he said was that he's for the developer. He's not for us citizens. The developer has to come in
And make money.
Developer has
The
to make
developer
money.
makes money.
He's not for affordable housing. He's for the developer.
Yeah,
Okay?
he
So
said that.
Then Matt Skinny's in with, we've got to have some affordable housing. Affordable for who? Because it's not affordable for the people that were already here. We're not worried about the people that were already here. They're worried about getting people in here to feed these developers.
Well, I actually agree. Kathy, I actually agree with you. I saw the need when I was running for council last year. How many, you wouldn't believe and surprise the people that were barely making it and barely surviving, and some of them wasn't surviving.
Yeah, I mean, people aren't going to be able to keep the homes they've got. They're building for people that are coming from places they couldn't afford.
What was that guy in New York? The rent's too damn high?
The rent too damn high.
High.
Yeah, so they're coming from there because they can't afford their stuff here, and it's the same thing with the jobs. We're giving all of our assets away for free, and it's going to bite us in the rear end. We're giving our people away for free. We're giving our land away for free, and it's going to burn to the ground, y'all. That's what's going to happen. Right.
All right. Let's move on. You got real quickly, Chris.
Eat the rich.
Yep. Here we go.
Well, if we're aiming to develop, your 85 corridor with this industrial that's being proposed that could be out there, you're going to need 10 to 15,000 more houses in the next 3 to 5 years. Where are they going to go? So that's one of the reasons why I think these standards are being brought forth, as we continue to move forward in discussion. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I got one more question. If we got a subdivision, am I supposed to plant them on my border, then he's gonna plant them the next door on his border to where we got 2 rows of trees?
Oh my God almighty.
Too many trees.
Too many trees now. Are you friggin' kidding me?
I got to tell you what.
He's getting the weeds. Get in the weeds.
Good fences make good neighbors, and whoever lives around that dude needs to put up a real damn high fence.
I got an idea. We're going to give away the first LTO Freedom Tree Fighter Award, and I'm going to present it to Glenn Hart at the next county council.
There you go.
Well, he lives in a gated community. He didn't have to worry about any of this
Who,
stuff.
Glenn Hart? Glenn Hart don't live
Does
in a
he
gated
not live
community.
out there?
No. Glenn Hart lives off South Friendship Valley Road in Seneca. No.
right.
Do these guys even think about this stuff?
Well, he said sometimes his brain don't engage. I heard that.
Jennifer, I think he's 80. I think Glenn's 80 years old.
But he's old. But he can still assign people to come up with recommendations.
He is the absolute reason that we do not need octogenarians in government at all. We retire people in their 60s and their early 70s because of this same thing. He needs to go retire, enjoy his golden years, cut down a tree or two, have a campfire, roast some marshmallows with grandkids, and leave this county government alone.
You know what? There are some people that want to do that. There are some people that don't. There are some people that are not capable of doing anything to actually make progress on anything at a certain age. It's up to the person. You can't force people. I mean, that's bad.
Well, we have an issue with people in their 90s driving cars, wrecking and killing people.
Then they should have their licenses taken away.
Okay,
Before or after
they kill somebody?
Before.
Okay, very good.
I agree with that, but that's totally different.
How is this different that you have someone as an elected official that's doing this kind of stuff right here that doesn't necessarily understand the dynamics of what's going on, that he's still thinking Oconee County of the 1960s?
Okay, I will tell you. First of all, he could be 40 years old and he's going to be saying the same shit and that he would be saying at 40 years old.
Well, you don't know that.
But,
I know,
but
I
right
know
here,
a guy that's like that. Believe me, you know it too. You know he would. The guy has never evolved. He's not thinking beyond that. He's so damn self. Every one of the look at Durham.
Well, here, but
he
here's
says the same shit that
but
he does.
but here's the thing. This one listener says, I feel so bad because he's going to go out with not the same integrity and dignity he's known for, all because of who he hired to work for him. And the thing is they've taken advantage of him and are still taking advantage of him by allowing him to say these things for them. And I hope that there's a special place in the afterlife for the people that are using this guy and causing him to look bad.
He was voted in.
Well, he was voted in because he had a pretty good sense of integrity. And
At one time.
At one point, he was a pillar of the community.
At one time.
Now he's eroded that himself. Just like McMahon. Everybody thinks that McMahon's this great dude until they see a Mortis Story interview and go, good God Almighty, what happened to that dude? So
I'll check on that. I'll check on that and I'll tell you.
Look, flowers, they sprout, they grow, they bud, they bloom, then they wilt. And that's what we see right here, wilt.
I hate to say it, but I think
I disagree. I don't think it has to do with age. I think it has to do with the way the people are. I don't. It doesn't.
But this
matter
is
what
not.
age.
But this is not how Glenn used to be.
Okay, well, I look at it as
My family grew up with him. My uncle graduated high school with him, and I considered him a friend at one time. My dad has used him for land surveys, and he's done things for the family.
He did my surveys,
but he is not the same person.
It can be a mutual tree.
Yeah, mutual. I mean, if you got side by side, that's the perimeter between you and the next property. So you share. I mean, you wouldn't have to put double trees.
You have to climb on your side of the tree, they don't climb on your side.
But the whole thing.
Wait a minute.
Over damn trees.
Well, why do you think?
The roads are falling apart. The bridges are collapsing in Oconee County. We've got shit going under a pipe in damn Fairplay, and we're sitting here having discussion on trees.
And you don't think that is a way that these guys could create obstacles and bottleneck everything to keep everything going exactly the way it is? It's a game with them. That's all it is.
Two sides.
Tonight, if we'd had a drinking game for every mention they trees, I'd be drunk right now, and the whole bottle of Jack would be gone.
I'd have alcohol poisoning if I drank every time they said something stupid.
The setback in the trees to be the property of the subdivision? Or
Of the development.
Of the
Yes,
development.
of the development.
Not the individual lots.
That's correct.
Okay.
Just the perimeter of the entire, in the aggregate, taking as a whole. So if it's phase one, phase two, phase four, it's still in aggregate, just that border.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Mr. Chairman, just real quick, and I'll have that for the next council meeting. Just for those watching, we do have something that most folks would consider development standards in chapter 32. It works in concert with chapter 36. I don't want someone to just go freestyling out there and say, they say we don't have anything. It's not exact, doesn't touch on the issues y'all are talking about it, but it certainly lays out what you have to do to develop a subdivision and all the requirements that you have to follow. So just wanted to note that for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, for the clarification. And next, we have discussion item to request council's approval to commit matching funds not to exceed $14,558 towards the Oconee County Courthouse Justice Assistance Grant from the South Carolina Department of Public Safety Justice Assistance Grant Program. Amount not to exceed $14,558. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
A motion, Mr. Hart, second. Mr. Davis, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
That is 5-0.
council consideration.
All right, for the most part, I'm going to go ahead and speed this up because of time constraints here. They go in, they do the voting, of course, for the vehicles. They do approve that. The only other thing that you see in here during that, they talk about the state contract versus trying to go buy at a local dealership. And coming up Sunday, Julian's going to explain that, but in a brief synopsis, state contracting means everything is ready to go when you walk out the door. Okay, that's part of what state contract. That means the police vehicles that they buy on state contract, for example, they're ready to go. They've been outfitted with light sirens, and it's just like your rescue vehicles, fire trucks, all the exact same way. So for the most part, that's what that means. But Don did bring up a good point about trying to buy local and keep the money in Oconee County. But when you do that, you run the risk of not getting everything that you need for that particular vehicle. And again, you would be paying more. So going through this.
I tried to buy a truck in Oconee County. I couldn't do it. I had to go to Georgia.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But like I said, as far as the state contracting pricing, it is the most guaranteed lowest price, and it's fully ready to go when you drive it off of Love Chevrolet in Columbia. If that's where you get your vehicle, or there's Dodge and then Fords, you get the lowest possible prices. Now, again, we're kind of having to catch up with the times with the vehicle purchases. We have deputy sheriff's cars that, are reaching that what I call the drop dead date after, 90 to 100,000 miles, because when you drive those cars, you're putting them through the ringer. I mean, they're basically running, nonstop. They're idling a lot. So again, with the buying the vehicles on state contract pricing, I completely understand. I think that is the only way to go. I know Clemson University, they have to buy theirs on state contract. Most government agencies in South Carolina, they buy on state contract. I think the only thing that you're not going to be able to get from a state contract is a fire truck. You'd have to contract that out with one of the fire manufacturers. Ambulances is the same way. But
they get them from somewhere like Tampa. The fire truck.
The other one that the city of Seneca just bought was in Indiana. Is it Elkhart, Indiana, where they make the fire trucks?
There's
a couple out in Indiana. The Seneca Chief Richie Caudell, the fire chief, and some of the firefighters actually had to fly out there and drive it back to Seneca.
That's where I grew up.
Elkhart?
Yes.
Isn't there's a fire manufacturer out there that manufactures.
That's where all the mobile homes and boats and everything else are being made.
So anyway, the final portion of tonight's broadcast, as we get ready to wrap it up, I wanted to go to the end. Now we're getting to the fun stuff. And we know towards the end they go into executive session, and I'm going to try to get this as best I can so that you can actually see it. Now, here's a conversation. If you take a look at your screen right now, on your screen, let me put the thing back up. Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall and see those two having a conversation? That's the sheriff and David McMahon.
Oh, God.
Yes. They were back there talking. I just love to have been a fly on the wall.
You know what he said?
What's that?
He's saying, McMahon's saying to him right now, that sumbitch has talked about my notebook for 2 weeks, and I still don't have it.
And you're probably right. But as we get towards the end, I'm going to go ahead and play.
Your hand.
I'm going to come back and play. Now get ready. You're about to see something highly entertaining. For tonight only, we get to see the modeling career of our good friend Perry as he gets ready to come back on camera and model for us. You're going to love this. If you haven't seen this, brace yourself because he has several different poses. All right, so coming back. They're getting ready to come back in. They're coming back in. All right, here we go.
I need a motion.
It's coming.
Executive session.
So move.
Second, all in favor? Okay, nothing needs to take action coming out of the executive
Here it
session.
is, y'all.
Motion to adjourn.
There it is. He stops. He looks. He sits. I hope he doesn't fall. He looks. He smiles. He looks. He folds his arms.
There he is.
Look at him. Got that smile on his face.
That's like he's posing his glamour shot.
I know. I just want to say thank you so much for making my life tonight so much better.
He's going to be on the front of Plastics Inc. next month.
But hey, here's the thing. Now that he knows that we can see him sitting in there and we are disgusted by him, at least we don't. He's cognizant enough not to pick his nose anymore. And we didn't have to see that for this whole meeting. So thank you, Perry,
I
for
want to
not picking your nose.
I really want to real quickly before we wrap up the show, right before the 8 o'clock hour. I really want to share the main thing tonight too. Not only was that wonderful, but there was something else that caught my eye this week that someone actually sent me. So if you can give me just a second, y'all go ahead and start going around the horn again next week. This coming Sunday, our normal show, it will be with Julia Davis. I sit down and have an interview. It's 1 hour and 30 minutes. And you'll enjoy it. So let me start with Chris tonight. I'll come to Kathy, Rainey, and then I'll have something I want to go out with.
Okay. I don't really have much other than what you're seeing is these guys are creating bottlenecks. There's nothing getting done. Now they're talking a little bit about planning. Two reasons. Number one is because we're going to be approaching an election season. And the second one is they're actually seeing that they've created this monster and it's going to be a lot worse. And they're getting very concerned. But it's, like I said, we could have done something. I think it's too late.
This meeting, I just tell you, was very uneventful and could have probably not been televised, and we didn't have to sit here and make fun of it because there wasn't a whole lot going on in any other normal county. But in this county, they give us so much material to talk about that we're going to talk about trees for the next 3 months.
Yep. We're going to plant trees in the Global Elitist compound here in the table. I'm going to get some trees, and we're going to start growing trees every week.
So when does Oktoberfest start?
Sycamores.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Oktoberfest starts Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And yours truly, along with you guys and gals, we're going to be broadcasting live at 8 a.m. in beautiful Walhalla, South Carolina. There at the parking lot of the Oconee History Museum, there at the Bantam Chef. It is the Rotary Clubs of Oconee County's 5K. It's a fun event. We have a great time with that. And the Children's Fun Run. We're going to be on the air from 7 to 8. The Let's Talk Oconee crew, Lake Kiwi Radio Online, Sunny 107.9. We're going to be broadcasting for 2 great hours coming up Saturday morning in Salem, or in Walhalla, excuse me.
And what time is LTO broadcasting?
We're going to be on starting at 8 a.m.
Until
11.
That's 8 till 11,
8
right?
till 11. Yep, Saturday morning, prime time.
I just wanted to make sure everybody heard that.
Yep. Kathy, go ahead. You're next.
Well, just wow. This I can't believe they hate trees, y'all. I feel like they're selling us out. That's just that's what I got from all of this. They're selling out our citizens.
Cutting the trees.
But cutting trees. They don't like trees. They don't like folks. That they're preparing a place for other people.
All right, Randy Bond, you're next.
I got to read this one comment. It says here, I feel like McMahon was telling him how things should be run. Back in my day, we stoned people for stealing stationery and school supplies.
All right, I have something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of days ago, our very good personal dear friend, Perry Smith, made a meme. Okay?
Ooh.
And it's actually representing us. Randy Bond, the tall character.
No, that's Jim Mann.
You think that's Jim Mann?
Yeah.
Well, then who's the other 3?
I'm not sure.
I still believe that's you, and I believe that's us. I do.
Which one's Kathy?
I think Kathy's on the end with the red suspenders. I'm the one in the middle with the suspenders, and Chris, of course, is the one wearing the Unity shirt.
You know what?
Because it really does look like you, Chris, a lot. Except if you grow your beard a little bit.
That is so flattering that
I know.
they would do all that.
But did you notice, though, Oconee County Republican Party, Mann's Misfits?
I really believe that that's Jim Mann, Bruce Burrell, Josh Owens, and myself. That's what I think. So,
well, it probably is.
I just want to say thank you.
Hey, but it looks a whole lot like that picture that you and I and Jim took last year at Oktoberfest.
I didn't think about that. I forgot. You're exactly right. Y'all did take a picture, all 3 of you together. But
and if we get together, we'll take another one.
Hey, man, I'm small potatoes to these guys, man. I'm an afterthought. It's you guys they don't like.
I don't care if they like. Hey, I don't give a damn if they like me or not.
I gave up caring.
Well, I do.
I know you do, but I'm talking about them. I don't care if they like me or not.
I'd like to go out to dinner with them.
Let me just tell you
I
something.
think they love y'all.
Let me just say something. Whether you like me or you don't like me, you better learn to love me because, by God, I'm the best damn thing going today. Woo! All right, folks, we will see you Saturday morning live, and then Sunday again. Julian Davis sits down with me in a candid conversation starting at 7 o'clock on Sunday evening on Let's Talk Oconee. Yes, Chris?
Okay, and when in Oktoberfest, what time are we on?
We're on Saturday morning.
Okay, everybody,
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
till 11.
Till 11. So
Yes.
we're on the entire time.
Yeah, for 2 hours.
All right, I was just trying to write it on my calendar.
And
Yes,
question,
Kathy.
are they going to have all the stuff on Main Street this year? 'Cause I know-
I'm not sure what they're having. I have not found out. I just know that we're going to be over there at the Bantam Chef, as that's where the race will start and begin and end. And the fun race, the kids will be there, and it'll all be fun. We're going to be there.
And we're going to start at 8, and we're going to be done at 11. So
That's right.
8 to 11.
All right. Randy, yeah, thank you for tonight's participation. Thank you to all our listeners and the folks that commented. We appreciate you so much. And again, thanks for listening. Let's Talk Oconee is a special presentation. Get ready, of Let's Talk Oconee LLC.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, I just thought I'd pass that along.
I like it.
Yeah, we have an LLC now. All right, there you go. Have a good evening, everybody. All right, see you shortly.